Now, I'm sure that Libby would not, maybe she wouldn't remember anything about this, but I know you remember playing on the old steam engine that used to be on the PB&S line.
I remember something when I was small. I was very small. It was a bit in back of your house. The railroad in the front. Yeah, it was right in the back. The railroad track went across the road, and for years that old, I don't remember if it was the engine or one of the cars, but we used to crawl around on that. But I didn't get to a lot because Mom didn't let me roam much when I was small, and it was gone by the time I was in high school.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't have it.
The only it was, well, it went right through our yard. And so we would constantly find railroad spikes and all kinds of little pieces of metal in the yard. I don't know where it would just show up, or you get a big rim, you could pull the whole thing out. But that was nearly all of my life. We pulled stuff out of dirt in the front yard.
Oh my goodness.
And when I know you read that when it caught on fire, that there was an explosion and a man was standing in his window.
What caught on fire? You mean the station?
The depot.
Mm-hmm.
And when the fire caused an explosion, and something went all the way across to a man on the other street and killed him in his window. He was looking out the window of the fire. Right this minute his name escapes me, but if I thought long enough, it might come back. But I can't remember exactly. I'm sure there's plenty of
What
people
started, Trudy, also, tell about when your dad looked after the old Catholic Church.
Well, I've just had some copies made of the dedication in 1941 of all of them standing out front. I wanted to share them with our new priest. When the church was built, Daddy was one of the ones that was on the committee to get the church built here, because Father Howard was coming from Whiteville, and he was saying Mass upstairs in what is now Franklin Square Art Gallery, and in homes, the Shannon home and the Marin homes, and maybe ours too. And so at night, Daddy felt a very closeness to the church because he had been there since day one when they started building. And he always opened the church in the mornings. He had a service station just over a block from us, and so he could go around, and he opened the church every morning for people to go in that wanted to go in and pray. And at night after supper, he would take my brother and I, and we'd go around and we'd kneel at the altar. And I can remember kneeling with a vigil light. It seemed so wonderful in there with just that little light. And we would kneel and say prayers at night. And then he'd lock the church up till he got up the next morning, and he'd go back and open it up. And it had a coal fire furnace. And he would go around and build the fires on Sunday morning to heat the church, for everybody to go to church. So, and when they first built it, he helped plant some of those camellias that Becky Felton has in her yard now, and the azaleas, and we'd go around, my brother and I, help him water them in the afternoons to keep them alive. So it was just a part of me growing up in my family and Dad. And I had pictures of every stage of the building. And people have made copies of things like they do now.
Yeah.
And I took them and gave them to somebody was making a scrapbook about the church. And I haven't seen anything of them since, but I do have, I had to look around this morning, pictures of the outside and the inside of the altar and everything. And Becky has them also, because Bert was her husband was very interested in, and I loaned him all those pictures for him to make copies of. But that was just part of my life with Daddy, and I can remember my sister, he had her playing the organ, and we had a little pump organ, no electricity, so in the summer every key stuck. And Sally would play the organ, and Mrs. Fergus sang. She was Dr. Fergus's wife. She had a beautiful voice, but I finally learned one hymn that by heart was, "Oh Lord, I am not worthy," and Sally would play that and I'd sing. I mean, I was a wonderful choir. But then Mrs. Hayes came and she played. My sister said she went off to Sacred Heart College on the other side of Charlotte to get away from that organ. She said she'd play a note and pull up the keys and play a few more notes and pull up the keys. But it was...
Why did it not have electricity? Southport had electricity.
Yeah, but we had electricity, but there was no air conditioning.
Oh, well.
So, and there was just a little pump organ. We had plenty of electricity, but just no air conditioning. The first air conditioning that was put in that church, I happened to be riding by one night, and there was somebody with a spotlight out back knocking holes in the back of the church, and they put them on each side of the altar when you went in. It looked somebody put wings on the altar, and that's where the air flew out. Somebody finally changed that. I don't know whose bright idea that was, but that's the first time there's been air conditioning, because even when my children were little, there was no air conditioning. They finally got it there.
Are you familiar with the church at all?
Yeah, I went a couple of times to folk mass on Saturday night.
Yeah, but you were...
Yeah, I was expecting the Methodist church.
She was my father, they were Methodists. Well, my mother was Methodist, but my father was Catholic. But
That's really neat. Now, is it true that you started the volunteer organization at Dozier Hospital?
no, that's not true. Sue Jones started it. And Sue Jones and what was Miss King's first name? Sue King. They started. I was one of the volunteers, but I did not start it. Sue did, and we were it was through the Red Cross, because we wore gray and white striped uniforms and little caps.
Gray ladies.
Yeah, the gray ladies. I couldn't do that. Yeah, the gray ladies, but Sue Jones started it. Randy's mother.
Okay, I gotcha.
She was very active in everything. But I volunteered from the time Marie was about 2 until right before I had Eric. And I remember I sold my uniform to the girl across the street. You know, people don't do those things now. We pass things around from one person to the other. And I think I sold it to her for probably $2 or something. But anyway, it was...
Well, you had to pay for it initially,
Yeah,
right?
Right. And
Just recuperate.
her husband was she was Love, her last name was Love, and her husband was the head of the bank at that time. Yeah, and but it was really a nice thing. Of course, we didn't do a lot.
What did you do?
Well, we went in and we straightened the rooms, and we made sure that there was fresh water and things like that. And if anyone didn't have toothpaste or whatever, or we'd run errands downtown to get it, because there was no little store in the like they have now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they have it now.
So you
They
can shop.
did, where you can shop in there.
Mm-hmm.
But and we'd run errands downtown and walk around, help carry the food trays and pick them up. And I remember one time, Katie Blake was head nurse then, Charles's wife, and she said, "Trudy, do you mind going in there and helping with the babies in the nursery?" Oh, I thought it didn't take me long, because I always loved to take care of babies, and I went in there and changed their diapers, and it was that we just did simple things. I really wasn't supposed to be in that nursery. I was not a nurse. But I knew probably more about the babies than the nurses did, because I already had 2 babies that I was taking care of. So it wasn't any problem to me to fix them, because the nurses were real busy, I think, that day, and the poor little babies were screaming in the nursery. And I went in and soothed them, and that was the best day I had, I think, when I was a grade lady. we had 2 meals a day at that time, morning and afternoon, and that's where everybody met and talked. You'd go to the post office and lean up against the wall where you could see your box, and they'd go around putting them in, and you'd run real quick if you got something, open up your box and get your mail out, and then you could read it while you were waiting to see if you got anything else. And that's just the way, that's where everybody met. And we had 2 boxes because Daddy had one for his business, and we had a little home box around on the side, and it was just the way to meet people.
Do you remember the postmaster, Mr. Yaskell?
Yes, I do.
Any impressions of him, Ivana?
No, I just remember Mr. Yaskell and his wife. Then they moved away when I was small, so I don't really remember. But I noticed in that picture that I had enlarged of our church, he's standing at the top.
Is he really?
Because at that time, anything that went on in any church, everybody went, no matter what denomination you were, you went to that, because everybody in town went to midnight mass when we had midnight mass, and that was the dedication that day. With the bishop from Raleigh was here, and everybody was lined up, and had more people there than ever went, because I don't think we had 10 families, and just a small thing.
So then you were a member of the Methodist Church, the old church, that they moved over to what is now?
No.
Libby, you don't look that old.
No, it's always been that one. I was like, I didn't even know there was another.
But there was before they did the addition onto current.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I remember when the parsonage was sitting
And
on
the
that
parsonage
corner.
was next door and everything. Okay. And do you remember any of the pastors who were there as you were growing up? And which ones were they?
Bill Davenport, and then, what's his name, Scott, Reverend Scott, Lancaster. Mr. Lancaster's probably the first one.
Okay.
And Mr. Davenport.
Mr. Heyman was there.
Oh, Mr. Heyman, yeah.
I used to go to the Methodist church
Okay.
because there was no Catholic church here when I was small, and my ancestors started taking me to the Episcopal church, to Sunday school. And then they quit having Sunday school there because they didn't have enough children. And so my grandmother took me to the Methodist church because she was Methodist. So I went there to Sunday school till I was about 12. And Mr. Heyman was here. I was about 12, 13. In fact, there's a picture somewhere of me and Stuart Calary, she is now, and all of us, and I was the Virgin Mary. And Billy Sanders was Joseph, and all the shepherds and everything standing around us, and I'm sitting in the middle with a doll in front of me, and I sang Away in a Manger.
And that was at one of the services you did that?
I don't remember, it had to be. It was something
Yeah.
the women, the Sunday school people put on for
Right.
the congregation.
Right.
I don't remember exactly, but I've seen it in the paper in the last few years in the way it was.
So were you ever involved in any of that at the church?
No, not specific, no.
Were you ever did they have a youth group?
They did, and I was
there?
definitely part of that. In
Okay.
fact, when I was a senior in high school, I was the only youth. And so I became a counselor to the junior high because there was more in that. So yes, when the doors were open at that church, my family was there. My dad was there. He used to, when they couldn't make the budget, and he would mow the grass himself. And if he wasn't